Hi everyone, my name is Diaz. I'm a backend engineer responsible for API at Solai. And in this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create, submit, and solve vehicle routing problem. Uh, basically, uh, this tutorial is for API part. So in terms of API, we have the following information. This is the main base URL that you will have to use in order to access our services. The documentation, both in Swagger and Redoc style, are provided using these links. So basically, this is the Swagger part. This is Redoc style documentation. The information here might be a bit overwhelming. That's why I have just extracted essential URLs that you have to use as an endpoints for reaching this goal, like how to create, submit, and solve routing problem. Another way how to access the documentation would be just to go to TMS Solai Labs. No, actually not TMS, just Solai Labs. So at Solai Labs, you go to API documentation and it will forward you to the redoc part of the documentation. So that's it for the documentation part. Now let's quickly cover the main steps that you have to follow. First, you have to go to, let's first make the outline of our steps. The first step is to log in using credentials. The credentials will be forwarded to you. Then we are uploading our routing problem and waiting for the routing problem status. So after uploading the routing problem, we have to wait for the status of ready for submission. When this happens, we are going to submit the problem. And after that, we're going to wait for the problem to have the status solved. And after that, we just fetch the problem solution. That's it. Okay, so let's step into the login using credentials part step. Here we are using this URL, or in this case, you can see it here. We are using JSON Web Token for login. So the main requirements are just username and password. You'll have this kind of successful response upon providing correct login information. Basically, you'll be provided with email and password that you can use to log in into Solai, and this is what you'll get as an answer. The most important part here is an access token that you have to use as a header to use all other endpoints in our system. Okay, let's continue. So after successful login, the next part is to upload routing problem. So we are creating the routing problem is contained in the file, JSON file, that has this following structure. Let's check if we can show it this way. You go to a routing problem. Here you'll see upload JSON file. Yeah. So you just upload the file, but file structure is the same as in just upload section. So this is how it looks like. Basically, we have the information about depot. It's like warehouse. Then a list of vehicle information and list of locations. Then we are specifying that we want to use OpenStreetMap as a map. Then you have to specify number of nodes, number of vehicles, index of depot, demand. Demands implies what is the demand level of each of these locations. Capacities means what are the capacities of each of the vehicles specified here in the list. Basically, for this tutorial, I have prepared some JSON of routing problem. This is a format and structure So for demands, you are specifying the demands of all of these locations. So here I have 16 locations. It means I have 16 demands. At the same time, I have 0 as a first demand, indicating this is a demand for the depot. This one. So the first one has to be 0. The rest are the demands of each of the locations, or like the orders that you have to provide. Capacities are capacities of each of the vehicles specified in the vehicle section. So here I'm only having just 2 vehicles. That's why here is 8 and 8. 2 numbers. Yeah. The locations are just information about the order, like title of the order, description, maybe some address or any other information, textual format. Phone of the client, the location in longitude and latitude. Service duration, which means how long to provide to have the service time, and time window is when you should have to provide deliver the order. Yeah, basically this is all that is necessary to provide to launch to upload the routing problem. After uploading routing problem, we have to wait for the status, because the routing problem first gets the matrices are calculated, the distance matrices, time matrices, and it might take a while depending on the problem. That's why the first thing is to wait for the routing problem status and to make sure that it's ready for submission. Basically, you're using this URL, routing problem ID, this one, routing problem ID. You're specifying the ID of the problem that you have received after successful uploading of RP, and you're putting this ID in this section, and the following information will be provided to you. Basically, the most important here is status, but at the very beginning the status is just created. However, it will internally in the Solai system will translate finally, or after correctly calculation, all the calculations are done, the status will be ready for submission. This is what you're gonna do, and you have to wait for that. Basically, yeah, after successful reception of this status, you can go ahead and submit the routing problem. So you do it by small endpoint. Here it is. So you just specify the ID of the routing problem, and it's a post method, and here you have to make sure that you are specifying selected driver IDs and give it an empty list, empty array. This is because it's just necessary for correct operation. Like if you specify empty list, it will automatically select all the drivers specified in the file. The next step, once you submitted the routing problem, your message is very simple. It's just like accepted. You'll have this accepted message as a response, and next part is to wait for that routing problem to be solved. And the way you get it is you have to make sure that status equals to solved. The same URL that you were using to check the status, you're using it to check for status equals solved, and as a result you'll have the solution. The way you fetch the solution is using this endpoint, which is specified here. Let me check. Yep, routing problem with last routing solution. So I mean, the most important parts are this URL, the second one is here, the third one is here, with last routing solution. Basically, you provide an ID of the routing problem, we are providing you with routing problem information as well as the last routing solution information. So in this part, you're gonna get your route infos, which is the solution. So route infos will contain all your routes for each of the vehicles. So for each vehicle, you'll have this route, which is a list of nodes that it has to follow in the ordered and timely manner. Yeah, basically that's all it takes. Let's just check it out here. Yeah, that's it. So another way, I mean, not another way, but we've prepared for you a kind of Python script that you can use. You can put your user data like email and password in this section. Use this base URL, and everything that I described to you is written here. And at the end, when you get your last routing solution, we are just writing it to JSON file. If I run this command, it will automatically log in using the provided email and password, and then use from the response you can get the access token. You use it as a headers for all your consequent requests. You're specifying your test rp.json file, which has this structure, and after that you're uploading the file first, this way. After successful upload, you're waiting for the status ready for submission. So I just created a small function that just waits for this target status and provides whatever input you have provided to get request. And yeah, by default you have we are making 5 attempts to make sure this target status is reached, and every time we're delaying our request for exponentially decaying fashion. Yeah, basically we are waiting for this status. Once we got the status, we are submitting the routing problem, and this is the message. Yep. And then for the same status, which is solved. So we're waiting for solved status, and here I'm just increasing the number of time that we allow the script to wait, because depending on the problem, the solution might take up to several minutes. So yeah, the last part is we are just fetching the last routing solution from this problem, which will be dumped into the JSON file. Basically, this is what has been done right now, and we can just go and open RP solution. So this is a JSON file that contains this kind of structure: routing problem and last routing solution. Here, the most important for you would be route infos. So for each vehicle with this ID that has been specified in the input file, so these are vehicle IDs. For each vehicle ID, we're providing you with a list of routes to follow. Yep, I think that's it for this. So if it's necessary, I can provide this small script for you to play around with, along with this test RP and RP solutions. You can check it out. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.